The story begins in the city of Shanghai, where we see a beautiful panoramic view of the place. Inside an apartment, a woman feeds her baby and tells him he's very lucky. She goes on to say that all the effort is worth it as long as he grows up healthy. But in reality, this baby is our reincarnated protagonist, and he even earns energy points. A status screen appears, revealing his name is Lin Zichen and he has a special ability. At 3 months old, his parents talk about how talented he is while a system notification appears. The baby then wonders what the gene fusers and cyborgs his father mentioned are. Time passes, and now the little protagonist is 4 months old. To avoid scaring his parents, he trains at night and gains new stats by crawling. At 5 months old, the boy has already mastered the art of walking and earns a few more points. Now at 6 months, he can finally sit up and crawl in front of his parents. While watching TV, he sees a news story about beasts and realizes this world is different. The news report explains that the Earth has mutated, and terrible creatures have appeared everywhere. To fight the beasts, humanity created cyborgs and also the gene fusers. Fortunately, he has his own system and decides he will grow in secret to survive. The little protagonist is determined to get stronger to survive in this dangerous world. One day, a new neighbor named Su Meng knocks on the door to introduce herself and give them a gift. She then introduces her husband, Shen Jiani, and their little daughter, named Shen Qingyan. The boy thinks that this girl will be his first friend, and that their destinies are linked. At 7 months, he's already training his running and gains vitality and coordination points. Continuing his training, the baby now practices jumping to strengthen his leg muscles. Even while playing, he manages to train and earn spirit and language ability points. By the time he's 8 months old, the boy is already doing sit-ups and push-ups in his crib. Suddenly, his mom walks into the room and catches him red-handed, but he pretends to cry to cover his tracks. The woman is in shock, not understanding what's happening, and rubs her eyes in confusion. She thinks it's a hallucination, and the baby takes the opportunity to pretend he's asleep and tricks her. A few days go by, and during his bath, his mom screams when she sees the baby has a six-pack. The father then starts thinking about his son's big appetite and now his muscles. He has a moment of clarity and realizes his son might be a rare prodigy. The man says he will become a great warrior, and the baby is relieved that his secret is safe. They watch a news story about a 2-year-old genius who can lift 20 kilograms. The proud mother says her son is also amazing and won't lose to the other prodigies. The boy wonders if he'll also be able to lift 20 kilograms when he's 2 years old. Time passes, and now at 2 years old, he can easily lift the weight with just one hand. Suddenly, his mom calls him to play with his friend, and he nearly drops the box in surprise. The boy then puts his equipment away and leaves the storage room, trying to look as normal as possible. He walks calmly to his bedroom door to meet the little friend waiting for him. As soon as he opens the door, the protagonist is surprised by the sight of the little girl on the other side. The girl offers him a pie, but because she's so young, her speech is still very mumbled. Since they don't play much, the boy uses her as a weight vest to do push-ups. However, there's a small problem with this very peculiar training method. The girl ends up having an accident on his back, and the boy yells for his mom that it happened again. At 3 years old, the protagonist can already lift 40 kilograms without much effort. He sees on TV that a 4-year-old prodigy can lift 30 kilograms and realizes he's stronger. But his biological level remains the same, and he wonders what the next level might be. Full of questions, he leaves his house for the first time and sees a futuristic city with cyborgs. Their mothers take the children for a walk, and the boy decides to go to the library to find answers. Once there, he ignores the children's section and runs to the more advanced books, leaving everyone behind. The women are confused by his choice of reading material but figure it's his genius genes. Through reading, the boy learns that the world is divided into 6 different biological levels. The levels are ordinary, advanced, rare, epic, legendary, and mythical, and he needs to evolve to survive. A system notification pops up, and he gains a new skill to train his mind and body. Now 4 years old, the protagonist remains focused on his training and reading books. At this age, he starts attending kindergarten with his friend and a new teacher. After starting school, he advances to level 2 and can lift 80 kilograms with one hand. One day in the classroom, the boy sees his friend being bullied by other kids in the class. Seeing this, the protagonist becomes furious and decides he needs to step in to defend the little girl. He then jumps into the middle of the group of bullies to put an end to their mean, spirited game. The boy threatens to pee on the bed of anyone who bullies his friend, leaving everyone terrified. The children start crying in fear while the little girl looks at her hero with admiration. His dominant attitude made all the children fear him, and he unlocked the title of King of Kindergarten. Half a year later, he completes the reading mission and gains a photographic memory skill. Time flies, and at 7 years old, the protagonist graduates from kindergarten with his classmates. During the vacation before school, he continues to train and can now lift 200 kilograms. His high jump also improves a lot, and he easily breaks the 2-meter mark. The boy also breaks the running record, managing to run 100 meters in under 8 seconds. With his new skill, he quickly finishes the school curriculum by studying at home on the computer. Finally, the day comes, and our hero begins his school life in elementary school. He wins several academic competitions to unlock the title of top student as quickly as possible. During his free time at school, he takes the opportunity to tutor his friend. Although she isn't a genius, with his help, the girl becomes the second best student in the class. To speed up the process, he also easily breaks all the school's sports records. But just when he thought he would have a quiet school life, a new transfer student showed up. The teacher announces the arrival of the new classmate, and the protagonist senses a strange aura from her. As soon as the girl enters, the boy realizes that her aura doesn't belong to an ordinary human being. His friend compliments the new student's hair, but the protagonist completely ignores the comment. The mysterious girl then slowly walks toward her seat in the classroom. He is more concerned with her strange aura and wonders if she is a gene fuser. In the following days, the new girl doesn't talk to anyone and just lies on her desk the whole time. As time goes by, the other students lose interest and leave her alone in the classroom. A month later, the piece is broken when a white liquid starts coming out of her body. The substance drips down her legs and has a very bad smell that bothers everyone. The classmates complain about the stench, and a bully makes a mean comment about the liquid. The boy then throws water on her, pretending he's going to help her clean up the mess. The girl clenches her fist on the wet desk, trying to hold herself back in silence. On her face, we see the expression of someone holding back tears with all their might. However, she can't hold it in any longer and starts crying because of the constant bullying. The bullies laugh at her while the hero's friend asks him to do something about it. He agrees and stands up, thinking that she isn't dangerous, just a weak girl. Our hero then grabs the bully by the collar, calling his name out loud. With a scary smile, the hero tells the bully to clean the girl's desk immediately. The boy is terrified by the threat and agrees right away to clean up the mess. While cleaning the desk, the bully thinks that even the older students are afraid of the protagonist. The hero then demands that everyone who bullied her come and apologize to the girl right now. Terrified by the boy's imposing presence, the other bullies agree at once. In a line, they bow and apologize to the girl, promising never to bother her again. With tears in her eyes, the white-haired girl thanks the protagonist and his friend for their help. His friend says it was nothing, and that classmates should always help each other. From that day on, the hero's friend tries to get closer to the new girl and drags him along. The white-haired girl looks a little embarrassed, and seems to hesitate in accepting their friendship. She then asks if they aren't disgusted by her because of the bad smell she gives off. The girl explains that she has been looked down upon by everyone since she was little, and this happiness feels like a dream. Suddenly, the white-haired girl's eyes widen as she hears her new friend's response. The other girl says it's not a dream and that she would never be disgusted by her new friend. She then declares with a smile that the two of them will be friends forever, no matter what. Moved by the declaration, the white-haired girl hugs her new friend tightly. Crying with happiness, she thanks them both for everything they did for her and for their friendship. Tears of joy stream down her face as she finally feels accepted by someone. She then says that since they were so nice, she wants to give them a thank you gift. The girl offers a pair of beast fangs that she received as a gift from her mother last year. Her friend gladly accepts the gift, sealing the beginning of a great friendship between them. The three then celebrate their new friendship, promising they will be friends forever and ever. But some time later, the hero's friend is shocked to learn that the new girl has transferred. The protagonist confirms the news, saying he saw the girl filling out the transfer papers. He peeks into the principal's office and sees the girl with a cyborg man and the school principal. The boy then realizes that the girl's identity was much more complex than it seemed. From that day on, the protagonist never saw the white-haired girl again in his life. However, other events that followed captured his attention much more than her departure. The boy uses his new skills to give his tired mother a relaxing massage. He sees on TV that the prodigy from Kyo has fused genes and can now lift a huge rock. Seeing the news, the protagonist is shocked to see that the boy has already started gene fusion. His father comes in complaining that the prodigy is always on TV and seems like an influencer. The parents discuss the boy's family, and the father explains their mindset. The boy thinks that the prodigy has increased his strength, but he can already lift 300 kilograms. He clenches his fist, confident in his potential, until he sees some scary new headlines. Suddenly, a breaking news report interrupts the program, showing a beast attack. The footage reveals that the attack was caused by a swarm of giant, bizarre rats. Amid the chaos, a woman screams for help, about to be caught by one of the creatures. The monster then snaps its huge mouth shut in the blink of an eye, finishing the attack. A reporter confirms that a cult of heretics is behind the tragedy in the city. The boy thinks he's lucky to live in a safe place where he can train in peace. Suddenly, his eyes widen in complete shock at a noise coming from outside. He hears a supersonic sound from outside the window and gets really scared. Frightened by the noise, the boy runs towards the window to see what's happening. With trembling hands, he slowly pulls back the curtain to peek into the dark night outside. Through the window, he sees several cyborgs flying and wonders what's going on in the city. The next morning, the sun is already shining, and life in the city seems to have returned to normal. His friend arrives, apologizing for being late while calling for him so they won't be late. Suddenly, the boy's eyes widen as he notices something strange about his friend. He points to her necklace and says that the beast fang she's wearing is glowing brightly. The boy realizes the fang is from a beast, and that's the source of the non-human aura he felt. The glow vanishes, but he gets a bad feeling, putting the recent events together. As they walk, a mysterious red-haired woman watches them from a distance on the street. The woman then approaches and comments on how adorable the two children are together. She steps between them and curiously asks if they happen to be siblings. The girl replies that they aren't siblings but best friends since childhood. The woman smiles with envy and says she wishes she had a childhood friend too. With a strange look, she asks where their parents are and why they are walking alone. Sensing danger, the protagonist grabs his friend's hand and stops her from answering the question. He then pulls her away, saying they're late, and leads her away from the suspicious woman. He scolds her for talking to strangers, and she agrees that she's learned her lesson. Time passes, and the sky already shows a beautiful sunset as classes finally end. Walking through a deserted alley, the girl comments that the place is very quiet and spooky. The boy explains that the neighborhood is scheduled for demolition next week, which is why it's empty. Suddenly, a female voice says that the children are finally out of school. The red-haired woman appears, and it seems she's been waiting for them the whole time. The protagonist is in shock because he took a different route to avoid her. A muscular man appears beside her, and the woman invites the children to her house. The big guy, lacking patience, says to just knock the kids out and take them away. The brute moves forward, saying he needs money, and is going to sell the two youngsters. Seeing the danger, the boy prepares for combat and protects his friend from the attack. Without hesitation, he throws a powerful punch toward the man approaching them. The blow lands squarely on the villain's face, who wasn't expecting that reaction. With the force of the impact, the man is sent flying, and the woman is left stunned. She can't believe a child managed to send a grown man flying like that. Without wasting any time, the boy rushes at the woman and lands a powerful punch right in her stomach. The blow is so powerful that the villainess is sent flying, landing unconscious on the ground. He then picks up a brick from the ground to finish both villains right then and there. The boy thinks he needs to finish them so his secret won't be revealed. Suddenly, the ground starts to shake, and a sudden earthquake scares the two children. A giant claw then smashes through the wall of a nearby building with great force. The creature reveals itself to be a giant rat, just like the one he saw earlier on television. The monster then opens its huge mouth and prepares to grab the red-haired woman. In the blink of an eye, the creature snaps its mouth shut, and it's all over for the villainess. The beast then turns to the children, holding the other villain in its paw. He picks up his friend and explains that it's a giant rat and they need to run. Without a second thought, the boy starts running to a safe place as fast as possible. Suddenly, a blonde cyborg appears, flying through the city skies at high speed. The warrior flies past the monster, and the protagonist wonders if she's a cyborg. The movement was so fast that he barely saw the cyborg stopping in front of the creature. The cyborg then charges her weapon with a golden energy, preparing for an attack. She fires an anesthetic smoke to try and neutralize the giant, bizarre creature. Several projectiles are launched towards the monster, which roars in pain from the impact. A huge explosion occurs, and the boy shields his friend from the flying debris. Even with the powerful attack, the creature is still standing and seems furious about the fight. The giant rat recovers from the blow, and it seems the attack didn't cause much damage. The warrior then charges forward and starts fighting the giant beast hand to hand in the alley. Watching the fight, the protagonist concludes that the cyborg isn't very strong and needs help. He thinks that the giant rats are tough to deal with, and is glad he managed to escape. The boy decides he needs to train more and starts doing squats with weights. Time passes, and the two friends celebrate their 9th birthday together with their families. After the happy birthday song, the boy gives his birthday present to his friend with a smile. The girl loves the wooden hair clip he made and thanks him for the gift. They graduate from school, and the boy is excited to unlock his next title. During the vacation, he trains hard, doing 1,000 push-ups with a giant rock on his back. Before school starts, his biological level finally rises to the 3rd ordinary stage. Sitting on the couch, he wonders what the current level of the Kyoto prodigy might be right now. The news shows the 14-year-old boy lifting 2,000 kilograms with a single hand. With a confident smile, he can't wait to get his own gene fusion in the future. Middle school finally began, and he accepted the invitation with a very special condition. The principal and teachers welcome him, but he quickly makes an excuse to get away. He ran off because the school has great facilities, and he already had a plan with his friend. The girl then calls him, all excited for them to start their game of badminton. She then gets ready to serve and launches the shuttlecock with a special curveball motion. But before the shuttlecock reaches him, a mysterious hand intercepts it mid-air. An upperclassman appears, saying that they're new, and that the court is reserved for the older kids. Other boys surround the girl, but she says they should follow the rules, since they got here first. With a serious look, the protagonist tells the guys to back away from her, and that he doesn't need to explain the rules. The group's leader scoffs, saying it doesn't matter who got here first, because he's taking the court. With the shuttlecock in his hand, the bully prepares to dictate his own rules on the court. But the protagonist catches the shuttlecock in the air and says that from now on, the rules are his. He then gets ready to serve and tosses the shuttlecock into the air with a determined look. With a furious shout, the boy hits the shuttlecock with all his might, launching it like a missile. The shuttlecock flies at an insane speed toward the bully, who is frozen in fear. The object zips past his head and smashes right into his racket, breaking it in half. The bully is in a state of shock and wonders if the boy is even human. Scared, he considers that the boy might be a gene fuser but thinks it's impossible. Another boy comments that the boss almost had his head taken off by that shot. The bullies bow apologizing and run off, scared of the boy's power. After the incident, no one dared to mess with the two friends during middle school again. Since he had already finished the school curriculum, he spent his classes reading interesting books. At night, he would train and use the internet to learn new skills useful for the future. To unlock his title, the boy won several medals in national competitions. The semester passed, but the title didn't unlock, and he gained a lot of fans at school. Ignoring the fans, he focuses on helping his friend and on the school's sports festival. At the sports festival, he gets ready for the shot put, concentrates all his energy into his arm, takes a deep breath and screams, "Ace." The shot put flies like a missile, cutting through the air and leaving everyone speechless. Next, in the high jump, he demonstrates his incredible jumping ability to everyone. To finish, he participates in the sprint and completely dominates the competition. Despite holding back so as not to look ridiculous, he still managed to win easily. Suddenly, he feels a new power surging through his entire body unexpectedly. A system screen appears, and he finally unlocks the title of Sovereign of Middle School. The screen explains that he can devour the life source of other beings to evolve. So he wonders what that could be. Walking alongside his friend, the protagonist suddenly gets an idea to test his new power. The young man then turns to the girl and asks to take a look at her beast fang necklace. Without question, the girl simply hands the small object to her friend, who holds it. Upon touching the item, the boy feels a strange energy, and a light suddenly begins to glow. The system alerts him that he's devoured a trace of the abyssal giant butterfly, and now the illustration is at 1%. Arriving home, he decides to search online to find information about this aberrant beast. He types in the creature's name but, to his surprise, can't find anything about it at all. Frustrated, the boy realizes he'll have to figure out the creature on his own and starts looking through his backpack. Luckily, he remembers the girl had given him 2 fangs and finds the second one stored away. Holding the tooth, the system announces that the giant butterfly's illustration is now at 2%. The young man is a bit disappointed with the result and thinks he needs to find another way to unlock everything. The next day, to train more, he gives his friend a ride to and from school on his bike every day. While pedaling peacefully, a familiar voice calls the protagonist its name, and he looks to the side. It was Teacher Go from the martial arts team, praising his incredible performance at the sports festival. The man then enthusiastically invites the young man to join the school's martial arts team. He insists that the young man's athletic talent is amazing, and that he should accept the invitation right away. The instructor says goodbye, and tells him where the team's headquarters is, saying he'll wait for him tomorrow if he's free. Later, the sun sets over the city, and the protagonist is at home thinking about his new powers. To test his new ability, he decides to try something different, clapping his hands together with a lot of force. He looks at a squashed mosquito and realizes that insects don't activate his ability to devour their life source. The boy understands that only powerful beasts have enough energy to be absorbed, so he grabs his phone. To confirm his theory, he hops on his bike and gets ready to head out again. He decides to go to the supermarket that sells beast meat to check if he can absorb their energy. They soon arrive at their destination, a large supermarket in the city center called Mammoth. Inside, he sees a lot of beast meat, but it's all packaged, and he needs to touch it to confirm his theory. Suddenly, he hears a butcher shouting about fresh beast meat, and it catches his attention. The boy spots the butcher's counter, where fresh meat is being cut on the spot, and he gets an idea. He asks his friend to wait a moment while he goes over to touch the beast meat. Without much explanation, the boy runs toward the counter, determined to touch the raw meat to test his power. With the truth right in front of him, the boy reaches out and touches the fresh meat to test his theory. As he touches the meat, He feels a powerful life energy, confirming that beast meat has the source he needs. The boy gets super excited about his discovery, while his friend wonders why he's so happy about raw meat. The girl then curiously asks what the meat feels like, and if it's very different from normal meat. He plays it cool, saying it's no big deal, and asks if she wants to touch it, but she nervously declines. Since they were there, the protagonist decides they'll buy some of the meat to try, leaving his friend shocked. He's not surprised by her reaction, since beast meat is extremely expensive and the prices are outrageous. Even the Phantom Shadow squid, which was the cheapest, cost almost 1,000 yuan, so he decides to get that one. His friend is very worried about the price and suggests asking Aunt Shin before making such an expensive purchase. To calm her down, the young man gives the girl a gentle pat on the head, telling her not to worry about the money. He then says his mom asked him to buy a lot of beast meat to bring home. His mother comes to mind, and he decides to buy more to share with his friend's family as well. At the checkout, he pays for the Phantom Shadow squid, which cost almost 3,000 yuan in total. The cashier thanks him for his purchase, and they leave the store, but the girl still seems worried about how much they spent. It was late at night, so to be safe they went straight home on their bike, pedaling down the empty street. Even on the street, he can hardly wait to test his idea and confirm what he thought about the beast meat. He then places his hand on the squid, and a purple energy starts being absorbed into his palm. The system alerts him that he has successfully devoured a trace of the Phantom Shadow squid's life source. An illustration of the creature appears, and the system informs him that the progress is at 0.1%. As they continue pedaling down the street, the boy starts doing some calculations in his head about it. He realizes that to reach 100%, he would need 100,000 yuan, which is a crazy amount of money. But if he could gain the squid's power to dissolve in water, all that money would be worth it. Now he needs to figure out a way to get that much money, since he can't ask his family for it. Suddenly, the boy remembers the other test he wanted to do with the meat they bought earlier. He looks at the squid in the basket and sees that it's still fresh, even after a while since he bought it. With the bar at 3%, he smiles in relief, as absorbing the energy doesn't spoil the meat. Distracted by his thoughts, his friend yells at him to watch out for someone in front of them. He slams on the brakes and almost runs over a couple walking by, then apologizes for the scare. The boy is embarrassed for being so focused on the energy, and his friend points to a commotion up ahead. They see a man holding a woman hostage, and the boy recognizes her as Teacher Tommy. Several police officers surround the area, telling the man to stay calm and drop his weapon immediately. The captain warns his colleague not to take the shot, as the target is skilled and a missed shot could be dangerous. He also rules out using sleeping gas because it might provoke the suspect into doing something extreme. Realizing the police weren't going to solve the situation, the protagonist picks up a rock from the ground. He then throws the rock with incredible speed and precision toward the kidnapper. The object hits the man's hand hard, making him drop the knife and release the teacher. Seeing the perfect opportunity, the police captain yells for his team to move in and get the criminal. The officers act quickly and manage to apprehend the culprit while the teacher is led to safety. The boy tries to slip away quietly, but his friend asks if he was the one who threw the rock. Just as they were leaving, the police officer calls out to the student, asking if he threw the rock. With a sheepish grin, the protagonist denies everything and tries to get out of there as fast as possible. The captain finds it strange that someone would do a good deed and not admit it as they walk away. He then says out loud that there's a reward for bravery and holds up the small rock. Upon hearing the word reward, the boy's eyes go wide and he is completely stunned. The young man slams on his bike's brakes and rushes back toward the officer, interested in the cash. He changes his mind on the spot and says he threw the rock because the money is important, and the officer calls him to the station. They let their families know, and head to the police station to give their statements about what happened. But while the criminal was being taken away, something goes very wrong, and he starts screaming. Suddenly the man transforms into a giant, terrifying monster that looks like a mutant rat. The creature attacks the officers with its huge tail, throwing them all aside with incredible force. The captain orders everyone to fire at the mutant rat but to be careful to protect the civilians. The officers unload their weapons on the giant monster, but the bullets don't seem to have any effect. The teacher and the protagonist's friend are completely terrified by the scene of pure chaos. Seeing the danger, the boy grabs both of them and says the most important thing now is to escape from that place. Fortunately, the monster doesn't chase them, but he knows they still need to run to a safe place. As they run down the street, they see something descending from the sky and wonder what it could be. A cyborg appears out of nowhere and lands a powerful punch right in the giant rat monster's face. The blow is so strong that the creature is thrown far away and crashes hard onto the street. The woman then prepares to attack again and starts charging a laser cannon in her hands. She fires a devastating energy beam that hits the monster head-on, lighting up the entire night. Hit squarely by the laser, the giant monster screams in pain with its mouth full of sharp teeth. The attack is so powerful that the creature is completely disintegrated, and nothing is left of it. The protagonist is completely shocked and impressed by the cyborg's incredible power. While the girls celebrate that they're safe, he is relieved that his bike wasn't destroyed. Suddenly, the young man looks at his bike's basket and notices that something strange has happened. The squid meat he had bought started smoking and seemed to have spoiled all of a sudden. He understands that absorbing the life energy spoils the meat, but he needs an excuse for the girls. The boy throws the squid on the ground and blames the cyborg's attack for having cooked the meat with the heat. At the captain's request, they end up getting into a police van to go back to the station and give a statement. Inside the vehicle, they come across the burnt remains of the monster, which had a horrible smell. Seeing the remains, the protagonist gets an idea and wonders if he can still devour its energy. Inside the car, our protagonist wonders how much power he can absorb from the scorched figure. With a single touch, he begins to draw out the essence of the heretic in front of him. The green-haired young man is surprised as he feels the energy flowing into him. A notification pops up, saying he has absorbed a little of the essence of a giant mutant rat. Back in the car, he stretches out, and the driver tells him to keep still, but the young man says he just needed to move around a bit. Later, in an office, a captain questions him on how he managed to hit the enemy so accurately with just a rock. The man is suspicious of the boy's answer and continues to stare at him in silence. Suddenly, the door opens, and our hero's family arrives to take him home. His mother runs to him frantically, shouting his name, incredibly worried. She hugs him tightly, and he tries to calm her down, saying everything is fine and that he even received a reward. His mother asks him to promise that next time, he'll hide instead of fighting. She just wants her son to grow up safe and healthy, and the boy gets emotional hearing this. He assures her he will protect himself and leaves with his family as the captain watches from a distance. Nearby, two female officers mention that the Rat God cult has been getting bolder lately. They say they need to take down the Rat King, and our hero listens to their conversation intently. Once in the car, the young man pulls out his phone to research the cult and finds a lot of information. He discovers their main base is in Shanghai and that they recruit people who have been cast out. Our protagonist is shocked as he puts the pieces of the puzzle together and understands the situation. Apparently, the Rat King wants to evolve and forces its followers to gather materials for it. The young man then wonders if this creature has already managed to develop its own consciousness. Through the car window, he sees a giant rat and wonders if the creature is connected to the Rat King. He tries to dismiss the thought, telling himself that large rats are normal in that area. Right after, he notices his sister is very quiet and seems to be feeling unwell sitting next to him. He realizes she is shaking and sweating a lot, and he already has an idea of what's happening. Apparently, ever since she was little, she has accidents whenever she gets too nervous or scared. As the car drives away, he thinks that this problem of hers might be some kind of hidden power. Arriving home, his mother notices that the meat they bought is gone and starts to panic. The young man scratches his head sheepishly and says that in the heat of the moment, he ended up dropping the meat on the way. His mother reassures him, saying the important thing is that he's okay and they don't need the meat. The young man breathes a sigh of relief for having managed to fool his mother and hide what really happened. His father wants to look for the meat, but the young man stops him, saying it's dangerous outside and the meat is already spoiled. Meanwhile, at the police station, the captain is still thinking about how a student managed to throw a rock with so much force. He feels a nagging suspicion, as the boy's story just doesn't make much sense to him. Suddenly, a giant rat appears behind the officer, leaving him completely startled by the creature's size. With no time to react, the enormous animal leaps toward him, its claws ready to strike. The captain quickly draws his weapon and starts firing multiple times at the giant creature. Even with the shots, the rat manages to push forward and swipes at the man with its sharp claws.